It's my intention that this video finds the people that are in the messy middle, the ones who are between who they once were and who they're becoming. And I like to think of this as a bridge that we want to sprint across. When I get to the other side, it can feel uncomfortable. It can feel restrictive. It can feel chaotic. It can be drama filled. And if anything, we just want to do anything to get off that damn bridge. We just want to rush past, get to the end, get to the next stage, get to when it feels better. And if you're in that space, some people call it the void. I like the term the messy middle. It seems to make it feel a little bit more appealing. Not that there's anything appealing about being in it. It's just a space we want to fast forward through. If you find yourself there, then I'm speaking to you. And if you are there, I'd like to invite you to just take a moment. If it's possible, close your eyes. And for a moment, just feel something solid. Whether that's your feet on the ground, whether that's where the body makes contact with the chair, the sofa, wherever you are sat. And I'm going to invite you to bring your attention to your breath. I don't want you to change it. Just notice. Notice if you feel anything in the body as you breathe. And don't try to control it either. Just become aware. And now that we're in the body, imagine yourself on that metaphorical bridge between who you once were, maybe who you've spent your whole entire life believing was your true self. Between that and this new, more aligned, authentic, true version of yourself that you're still becoming. And she might feel unfamiliar. He might feel unfamiliar. And what does it feel like to allow yourself to pause, to rest, to sit in this place that maybe feels messy, that is potentially chaotic, restrictive, uncomfortable, overwhelming? What if you weren't rushing to fix that feeling, to push on to the next phase or stage, to rush across to the other side, the side where you have it all together, where life is working for you? What if you can pause in the eye of the storm, in the midst of whatever you find yourself in, and just be? And just take a nice deep breath in and exhale. You see, I've realized how much time and energy we spend trying to get somewhere else other than where we are. And I used to think that this bridge between who I was and who I'm becoming was literally a place to sprint across. But what if this space isn't just a waiting room, isn't just an inconvenience? What if this is where real life actually happens? So if you are living or existing in the middle of your own void, messy, unfinished situation, what if you're exactly where you're meant to be? So stay with me, because I know there can be resistance to that. There definitely was resistance for me. I spent almost 20 years in a career, a corporate career, and a relationship that later became a marriage that was misaligned. It just wasn't right for me. It wasn't working. And at the time, I'd convinced myself I had to choose between staying and suffering or blowing up my whole existence. And I chose to blow up my whole existence. And even that took a long time. It took 8 years. And in that time, the real choice was to learn to live in the uncertainty, to learn to live in the descent, in the shadow, in the void, where my life looked nothing how I imagined it would. And I had no idea how it ever was going to change, going to improve. You know, I made it so much harder on myself by trying to rush through this stage, trying to avoid facing myself in this darkness. And like when you think of the void, you know, it can sound quite scary, but I like to think of it now like a womb space. It's dark, but something can grow there. We need that dark, fertile soil. And in that space, in that darkness, if we can slow ourselves down and have the conscious awareness to understand what it's asking of us, it's the biggest opportunity to really truly meet yourself. Meet yourself beyond all of the masks you've been wearing, all of the roles that you've been playing. You know, I disappeared in the role of wife and mother. I became almost non-existent. My needs became non-existent. I overworked to compensate for this empty feeling of being so unfulfilled. You know, and it showed up in other ways too. It showed up in my inability to play. You know, and I can remember my children at the time when they were younger and they'd get out all the Barbies and the Ken dolls and the teddy bears and you know, would beg me to come and play with them. And I would think of any reason to avoid it than have to sit there and play. And it makes me feel quite sad. But a nervous system that's constantly scanning for threats can't relax enough to play. My inner child, it wasn't safe enough for her to peep out, never mind play. I was hyper vigilant. I was on edge. I was walking on eggshells. So to be able to relax to that degree, to be fully present and in the moment and just allow myself to play, it was a really alien, foreign concept. And so I avoided it. This is how we want to fast forward through these uncomfortable parts to try to get to this imaginary end point where everything makes sense, where we have success or where we feel validated. But I know now that the more that we resist that, the longer we stay in it. 8 years it took me to get out. And on the other side of that, I think we can put so much pressure to be productive, for our time to be valuable and well used, especially when we're busy. When we have families, we have jobs, we have responsibilities, we care for others. That time, it's the pressure we put on that time for it to be productive and worthwhile. Being present, being still, and being called inwards can feel like a waste of time. But like I said, this resistance, the only way out is through. And if we resist going inwards, going through the process, then getting to the other side just seems to move further and further away. But when I began to meet myself fully, when I started to use the tools that I'd learned, Kundalini yoga, mantra, meditation, breath work, all of these ways of slowing down, when I gave myself permission to rest, permission to go slow, permission to be exactly where I was, and the acceptance of this is where I am now. What can I be grateful for in this moment? Because we're all in process. We are all always evolving. Do we ever really arrive anywhere? Only to the next moment and the moment after that. So if you're in your own void, your own messy middle, I just want you to know that you don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to trust yourself. Trust in your path. Have patience in who you're becoming.